You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning and welcome to Matt and Air on Air. Jane Matt and Air, Greg Buck, and Calvin Butenoff, all coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine, where you can join us. You can call, you can text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. Busy show coming up today. Michelle Velasquez from Planned Parenthood Advocates is going to be joining us after the 9:30 news, among all the other things that are going on with the budget that's being kicked around in Washington. There are some backdoor efforts now to, yes, not a surprise, defund Planned Parenthood.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, not shocking.
Yeah, not shocking. So we're going to talk about that. And Planned Parenthood, by the way, and we will talk about this with Michelle, does offer things beyond just reproductive health care.
Absolutely.
They do cancer screenings and breast cancer screenings and cervical cancer screenings and all kinds of things. So again, Michelle Velasquez is going to be joining us after the 9:30 news. Friday, that means Dan Schaefer, Civic Media's political editor and the creator of the multi-award-winning Recombobulation Area, will be here after 10 o'clock. We're going to hold off on talking about the big fight. Fight.
Ooh, a good old-fashioned slap fest.
Yeah, between the president and his closest buddy,
the world's richest man.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that a little bit with Dan Schaefer. That will come up in hour number 2. We will wrap things up as we always do with this. It shouldn't be a thing. Today, it's the Shrinky Dink edition. I just like saying that.
Shrinky Dink.
Shrinky Dink. It's one of those things.
This show was actually originally going to be called Shrinky Dink on air.
Didn't fly through the panel.
Changed the last second.
Yeah. That's the way things go.
Yeah.
If you ever have a thing you think should not be, along with potential guests that you think we should have on the show, if you ever want to reach out to the show, super easy way to do it. You can email us at janesays@civicmedia.us. JANESAYS, all one word, Jane Says @civicmedia.us. And don't forget, too, we are in the week 1 of our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Contest. So coming up after 11 o'clock with Tom Hartman, he's going to have a keyword for you that you need to text in via the Civic Media app only.
Yeah, that keyword will be delivered by
you and I.
That's right.
Yes, so be listening for Greg and I after 11 o'clock with that keyword for you to text in. You have an hour to text that in via the Civic Media app, and then you're in the running for either $100 cash or a pair of Milwaukee Brewers Club level tickets. And everyone who enters is in the drawing for the grand prize, too. A little getaway, and we pay your gas.
That is just like, just love that part.
I know. It's great. Like Ashley in Wisconsin Rapids. She was a winner.
Nice.
Listening on WIRI.
Well, thank you very much for listening.
Appreciate
and for
that,
playing.
Ashley, and congratulations. So that's coming up after 11 o'clock. Be listening for that keyword. It happens 4 times a day in the 7, 11, 2, and 4 o'clock hours. Our statewide Text to Win Scotty Summer Contest through today and all next week.
Yes.
Wanted to start off by talking about some local wins. At least this is a win. Attorney General, and this is from Civic Media, our Civic Media News Department.
I've heard of them.
Lucas Hunt doing a great job. Attorney General Josh Kaul wins court order against Trump. AmeriCorps programs, will be restored.
That's fantastic.
Wisconsin Department of Justice released details. The administration has been ordered to restore programs and members of AmeriCorps. This is a nationwide program that helps address the needs of various communities, like helping veterans with therapeutic recreational activities. Again, a couple of years ago when I was at a different radio station and I did some longer feature stories and had an opportunity to talk to some of the groups that work with the VA, including a group that put on plays.
That's so cool.
Shakespearean plays.
Yeah.
Artwork, guitars, guitar lessons for veterans.
If anyone's out there listening right now and has an in with guitars for vets,
it's a great group.
Please contact us because they are a hard group to finagle, and I would love to have them on the show. But I apologize. But yes, that's the work that they do with vets alone, as well as other groups.
Yep.
It just.
Yeah, AmeriCorps.
This is a win.
Yeah, AmeriCorps also has recovery coaches helping people with substance abuse problems. The coalition established the Trump administration was unlawful when they dismantled AmeriCorps. Attorney General Josh Kaul calling for further action, saying, quote, "This decision is an important reprieve, not only for many programs supported by AmeriCorps affected by the Trump administration's sudden and unwarranted cuts, but also for the many communities that benefit from those programs. Congress should also step in and prevent the Trump administration from doing further damage to AmeriCorps," unquote. And there were a whole bunch of people that were working for AmeriCorps that just got blown out.
Yep. And this is another example and something we've spoken with Jim Santel about of lawyers and judges stepping in and protecting the Constitution, protecting the people, protecting our programs. Where our elected officials are not only not stepping up to protect them, but actively working against them. So thank you, Josh Kaul. Thank you to all of them who are protecting our democracy.
Yeah, and especially, again, the judges that we talked about yesterday with Jim Santel. And speaking of Jim Santel, and I would imagine he will talk more about the Trump administration has been losing lots of court cases.
Yes.
Lots.
Yes.
And many of these are Trump-appointed judges. Sorry, but they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure Jim will have more about that tomorrow. He has a statewide show Saturdays across the network called Amicus, a law review from 9 to 11. Great show.
Yes.
And you can also always go back and listen to his archives if you're not able. You might be running around. It's a Saturday. People have things to do.
It's a great podcast to listen to because it is just... while you're driving, while you're exercising, he just is. It's so jam-packed with information, but it's also digestible to those who are not in the law. And he speaks like a law professor, but he has the love of what he talks about. So there's a certain sense of like you feel fired up when you listen to him.
Absolutely.
It's just there's a positive energy. Even when he's talking about the darkest things, his energy gives me hope.
So check out Jim Santel. And again, if you can't listen to his show 9 to 11 across the network on Saturdays, you can always go to civicmedia.us.
Mm-hmm.
Just click on shows and scroll down and you'll find Jim's show. And there's a whole bunch of archives there, like you will find for all of our shows.
Yeah.
The other thing that we wanted to throw in here, because we were just talking about this earlier this week with Nathan Deming.
Yes.
Who is a filmmaker.
Yes, he is.
He's a native of Toma, but he's been he kind of bounces back between Wisconsin and California making movies. And we were talking about this film tax credit bill.
Yeah.
And it has passed. It's been approved.
In the assembly, correct?
In the assembly.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. We agree on this. Look, we can get things done in Wisconsin.
Investing in art can have an ROI. This is wonderful.
A bill to provide a film tax credit in Wisconsin and set up a state film office ready to be voted on by the Senate. After being approved by the Chamber Committee, Wisconsin Tourism Secretary Ann Sayers says that Wisconsin's lost out on a lot of opportunities because movie companies don't want to shoot here because of this lack of a film credit. And as it was explained to us by Nathan, if you say you're going to spend $5 million shooting a movie here, you'll get a refund on like 30% of that.
Yeah, and that's great.
So it's not like we're paying outright to lure them here.
No.
They will get a break on the money that they intend to spend while shooting a movie here.
Yep, and other states, New York has a film office, Georgia has a film office, other states. I mean, it's just... I feel like it's a very simple investment from the state, from the government, to get over time a wonderful return. And also just, they create jobs in the community, whether it's people working on set or just, creating
support system,
and also investing in the local economy, hotels, restaurants. If you have entertainment there, people are, shoots done, people want to go out and have a drink. They're going to maybe go to your bar. Like, it just feels like a win-win. Plus, it just feels cool to be like, hey, we have a film office. We want them here.
Well, and as you had mentioned when we were talking to Nathan on Wednesday, look at what Georgia has done and how Atlanta has become like a second Hollywood.
Correct. Yes.
It really has.
Yes. You feel the presence of that Hollywood aspect when you're in Atlanta. And Europe, England has invested in Georgia as far as filming. They have a whole United States, essentially not franchise, but like another location here in America of their Pinewood Studios where all the Bond movies were filmed. So there is proof in the pudding that this works. And I'm happy that the Assembly passed this.
Yeah.
This makes me very, very excited.
Well, again, we'll see what happens when it goes over to the Senate.
Can we just have this moment, Jane? Can we
Sure.
just have...
Embrace the win,
Yes.
half win, while we have it.
We're halfway there.
We're halfway there. I like that. Senate Bill 231 will allow companies to apply for a 30% credit equal to costs of salary or wages for Wisconsin residents working on the productions.
Yes.
So this is now ready for a vote by the full Senate. And credit to Joanne Krulitz, the wonderful Joanne Krulitz, also part of our news department for Civic Media. She just posted that too on our website. This is a good thing.
These are good things. These are good things. These make me happy. These make me excited to be in Wisconsin.
Are you feeling movie-ish?
I would totally
You'd be a great character in a movie.
I would. I'd be amazing. I would also look. I thought about like emailing his name, Deming, first name
Nathan.
Thank you. Wow.
Sure.
Friday is here.
Yes.
But also just asking about what the aspects of producing a film is, because I'm a producer. I'm a producer here at Civic Media. I produce comedy shows. So that's sort of putting things together and making them run is kind of in my blood. And the aspect, the idea of producing movies has always interested me. So I kind of wanted to send him an email like, look, I'm not asking for a job. I already got one. Got that. But also just like, hey, what are the things? I know one of the things what you need to know is how to budget. They say that
absolutely.
If you want to get into movies, get a degree in accounting.
Economics.
Yeah.
I would think so.
It was a great discussion, and I'm glad that so close to having that interview with him, this information comes out. That has to make him very happy. Also, someone like Civic Media's very own Pete Schwaba,
yes,
who I believe on our show came on last year and talked about the fact that there are people who just aren't making their films because they want to make them here, but they can't afford to do it. So maybe this program will help them.
I just see it as a win all the way around.
Agreed.
I really do.
Agreed.
Cassandra says too, next step, funding education. Well,
one thing at a time.
I know, Cassandra, we hear you. I agree with you.
Maybe
but
in the tax credits for movies,
we can slip in something
like some
for water and education and childcare.
Universal breakfast. Just put them in there. Just
little
don't
things,
tell anyone.
Little things. Okay. When we return, we're going to talk about something else that was slipped in to this budget that the House just passed.
Yeah.
If you didn't think that they were kind of heartless before, I think you will after we explain this cut.
Oh God.
Not sure who's been calling for this, but we'll have all the details on the other side. Stay with us. You are listening to Matt Nair on Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, the board lord, coming to you live from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. Join us, call or text. It is the same number, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. After the 9:30 news, Michelle Velasquez from Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin will be joining us. Stay tuned for that. Right now, though, we're going to talk about something else that all kinds of little hidden gems in this budget bill.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, Jim from Brookfield is on the line. Good morning, Jim. Thanks so much for joining us. What do you want to say?
I wanted to just circle back on the cuts to the AmeriCorps, which I just can't believe, what we're facing these days. Just a personal story. My oldest daughter graduated University of Minnesota, and she went out and wanted to D.C. She wanted to work in the D.C. area, got a job with AmeriCorps, working with public schools, helping these kids get back up to, reading levels or whatnot that they were a little behind because of, COVID and working at home. She could have worked in Milwaukee, but she went up to D.C., put in a year's service there for AmeriCorps, and she helped public schools get them back up to standard levels after COVID. She really enjoyed that year. It was a very good learning experience, and she also got an incentive that could be used for further education. It was a very nice bonus. It had to be used for further education and at certain schools.
Sure.
And these weren't Trump University schools. These were, some Ivy Leagues, Wisconsin, whatnot. Long story short, her friends now that still work for AmeriCorps, they've been told they were going to be phased out. And this incentive, this bonus, is now in question. Now, how can the government go back on their word, and, pull this out, the rug literally out from under these kids, that are there teaching, student teaching, serving their country? I just can't believe, what we're facing these days, that not only would they end that program, but retroactively pull the rug out from, this incentive, this bonus that my daughter earned going to the public schools there in D.C. every day for a year.
Well, and what's crazy about it too, Jim, is that we need more teachers. We talk about this all the time, the lack of people going into the teaching industry. And now you have these people like your daughter who want to do this. And now we're gonna penalize them. Or as you say, rip away the incentive. It's completely at cross purposes, right?
Exactly, and she's taking in stride somewhat. She's now working for a private law firm out there in D.C. She used that year of service to land a job out there, but she feels just sick about her friends that are still there with AmeriCorps that are being phased out, and her incentive is up in question. So, I mean, come on, Musk, Trump, whatever, live up to the obligations, the commitments that have been made, and try to look at the better good for this country.
That's a wonderful plea, Jim, and we agree with you. I really appreciate that. But look at what they did to our farmers.
Yeah.
Look at what they did to our farmers, with farmers who had already invested in improvement projects on their farms, whether it was solar or perhaps it had something to do with manure mitigation or whatever. They had invested this money with the promise that under the Inflation Reduction Act, I believe, that the government was going to pay them for it. And then Trump came in and left them all on the hook for that.
Well, I think that unfortunately, and I don't like be the doomsayer or the Debbie Downer on this one, Jim, and everyone listening, I don't understand why any of us would hold them to any standard. As one, they said they were going to do this in the first place. But of course, they're not going to pontificate, so we didn't know the extent of these cuts. And also, they show no signs of being beholden to the people and making good on promises, let alone trying to create a country that thrives under investment, opportunity, and just saying like we're here to make sure we are the best country in the world. They say it all the time. We're the best country on earth. But they're constantly doing things that undermine that. And unfortunately, the story that, Jane, you want to talk about just is like one more. I mean, like, this is disgusting.
Yeah. Republicans want to ban pets from domestic violence shelters. So hidden in this budget bill, along with that little provision that prevented states and localities from doing any regulations on AI for a decade.
Yep.
This also is in there. They want to cut a program that helps people who are in violent relationships bring their pets with them to shelters. So a lot of domestic abuse shelters won't take animals because they're not equipped to handle them.
Yeah.
The program known as PAWS, PAWS, helps fill a gap. It's a budget of $3 million. That's nothing.
That is like the small staplers in an office in DC. That is nothing. I'll look it up what the percentage. It's like zero. It's gonna be like 0.0001.
It is so insignificant.
But they want to do what with that, Jane?
They're going to get rid of it.
Of course.
The important part of this, and I volunteered at a battered women's shelter a number of years ago. If you're in an abusive relationship, you are highly unlikely to leave your pet behind because your abuser is going to harm your pet to get at you. So therefore, if you don't have a safe place to go with your pet, you're going to stay in this relationship.
Yeah.
And so this paltry $3 million for this program that helps shelters set up a place where people can bring their pets. They want to get rid of this because Diane Hendricks needs a tax cut.
Yep.
So do the Elines. They need a tax cut.
Yep.
So does Eric Hovde and Tim Michaels.
so does-
Those guys, they need a break, you guys.
And no matter how much they fight on social media, Elon needs a tax break, and he's going to get his tax break. And yeah, Jim, you're talking about them taking away AmeriCorps or cutting AmeriCorps programs. But how do we lower the bar? Well, they just did it. Yeah. They just lowered the bar right here.
We have news coming up next. Stay with us. You are listening to Matt Nair on Air. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on Air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Mock, Calvinator on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. And if you have the Civic Media app, you can leave us a voice note as well. So you just record it on your phone, you send it in to us, and we can play it on the air. If you are busy, maybe you're driving right now and you want to pull over later and leave us a voice note, you can do that as well. Glad to be joined right now by Michelle Velasquez with Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin. Good morning, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi, good morning. Nice to see you again. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We were talking before you joined us about something else that they've kind of snuck into this big budget bill that the House has already passed. In this instance, they want to do away with funding for domestic abuse shelters to help women who will not leave their dangerous situation if they're not allowed to take their pets. So that whole $3 million they're going to cut out of there because obviously that's too much money. There are other things that they are attempting to defund within this bill that aren't getting nearly as much attention as maybe they should, Michelle.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, the simplest way to talk about this bill is that it is the largest transfer of wealth from the most vulnerable people who need it, from the vital programs and services that we need to be investing in to make sure people are healthy and safe. And all of that is being transferred so that the richest people in this country can become even richer.
So what are your concerns as far as Planned Parenthood is concerned? What kinds of cuts and what are they going to do to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a provision in this bill that would specifically defund Planned Parenthood. And what I mean by that is there's a provision in this bill that would make any nonprofit family planning, sexual reproductive health care provider who also provides abortions prohibited from being reimbursed and participating as a Medicaid provider. So sometimes people think, Planned Parenthood gets just sort of blocks of money from state or federal government, but that's actually not the case. We're a healthcare provider just like any other who sends out bills for reimbursement from, sometimes it's a private payer insurance, and other times it's a state Medicaid, which is an insurance coverage. So whether it's Badger Care or the family planning only services, Medicaid coverage, Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin provides healthcare services, sends the bills to the insurance companies for coverage, and in many cases, most cases for Planned Parenthood's care, it's Medicaid, and then is reimbursed for those health services. And what this bill does is prohibit Planned Parenthood from being a Medicaid healthcare provider because it also provides abortion. So it is sort of a backdoor way to make abortion less accessible. It's not an outright ban, but it would essentially make the largest provider of both family planning and abortion care unable to participate as a Medicaid provider. And it takes away healthcare from people who use Planned Parenthood for all sorts of things: contraception, vasectomies, breast and cervical cancer screenings, gender affirming care. So that is what this bill does, in addition to defunding Medicaid and essentially kicking off. I've heard estimates of around 11 to 15 million people would lose coverage under this bill.
Yeah, again, this isn't a direct assault on Planned Parenthood, even though they've been trying to kill it for decades. This is essentially a backdoor way to kill Planned Parenthood, which is what they want to do. And I think too, Michelle, there is people have the wrong idea because you had mentioned you offer so many other services beyond just abortion care. And in a lot of instances and in many neighborhoods, I would think that for some of this stuff, Planned Parenthood is the only provider that people can get to.
That's absolutely right. I mean, Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin has 21 locations across the state of Wisconsin. As we see other health systems leave neighborhoods or leave some of the rural parts of the state, Planned Parenthood has really been there to step in and fill those gaps. It is a safety net healthcare provider. Oftentimes, it is the sort of entryway for many people into bigger healthcare systems. Certain health issues are detected at like a wellness visit, for example, and then people get connected to care. Cancer screenings are done, and then they're connected to care. Somebody has a positive pregnancy test and they want to continue with that pregnancy. Planned Parenthood is there to help connect them and make sure they get that prenatal care that they need. And so it's really just a part of the larger healthcare sort of tapestry of the state of Wisconsin. And frankly, I think that, without it being able to participate in Medicaid, that would, result in the closure of health centers. Absolutely.
If you're just joining us, we have Michelle Velasquez, who is the Chief Strategy Officer for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin. And Michelle, one of the things that we like to do here is, and I want to really to endorse this for the people listening right now, is sharing what you know as you're speaking on this topic, is tell your friends about what's going on. Because one of the things we're seeing with this bill going through Washington are people realizing, and some of them are elected officials who just voted on it, saying, oh, no, wait, what? That's in the, no, we can't do that. And getting the word out to people. And what are you doing as an organization to like really press it? Because as Jane has said, they've been trying to kill Planned Parenthood for decades. And we've been talking about for a long time that it's not just abortion care and access, it's all of these other things. What is the campaign to get out there? Is it phone calls, knocking on doors? How are people getting made aware of this?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, right now with all of the different things happening in the news every single day, it is really hard to sort of break through because there's always something new happening. And I was listening to a podcast earlier this morning, and people do not like this bill, but there's also a lot of people who don't know about this bill or what's in it. And to your point, we have elected officials who are saying, oh, I didn't know that was in there. Their job is to know what is in this bill and how it affects their constituents. So Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin started phone banking. People can go to the website, ppawi.org, to volunteer, get involved, just to let people know what is going on. Right now, this bill is in the Senate. So if people want to take action, it's as simple as calling your senator. So in Wisconsin, you can call Senator Tammy Baldwin and thank her because she has stood up for Planned Parenthood. She has stood up for people maintaining access to healthcare. They can call Senator Ron Johnson and tell him, no, I don't want you to vote for this bill. He's saying he's going to vote no, not for the same reasons that we would want him to vote no. But it's really important that people make their voice heard and tell Senator Ron Johnson, tell his office, why you are against this bill, why Medicaid access, healthcare, affordable healthcare access, food share. We didn't even talk about the reduction, this huge reduction in access to food share benefits. And so that is one way for people to get involved. And then tell your family, your friends, your neighbors, your communities, what is in this bill and how it is going to impact maybe yourself or people you know. But most people want their family and friends to have access to healthcare. They want it to be quality, affordable healthcare, and they want it to be in their communities. This bill really takes that away for not just Planned Parenthood, but by reducing the number of people who would be able to participate in Medicaid and have that coverage.
If you are not certain where to get the numbers for Senator Tammy Baldwin or perhaps Ron Johnson, just go to myvote.wi.gov, myvote.wi.gov. Really useful website. All you have to do is enter your address and click that in, and all the phone numbers and all the contact information for all of your elected officials will show up. And we've talked to a lot of lawmakers too, Michelle, in the past who have said, if they don't hear from us, then they think that we go along with them and we think this is fine. They need to know that, no, this isn't fine and I don't want you to do this, whether or not Ron Johnson's going to listen to you or not, because he's probably not going to. And I also want to talk, and you had mentioned this briefly, about the number of men who use Planned Parenthood. I think it's much higher than people realize.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but certainly Planned Parenthood provides care not just to women, but to men as well, and people across the gender spectrum of all identities. And it does so in a compassionate, judgment-free way. Gender-affirming care is a specific type of healthcare that is really under attack right now. And Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin has continued to provide that care, and it will continue to do so no matter what. And, in the advocacy space, these are the types of issues that Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin really organizes around all year round, to make sure that people have access to that full spectrum of care. And by taking Planned Parenthood out of the Medicaid as a participating healthcare provider in Wisconsin means that up to, somewhere around 50,000 people could lose access to its services. That's how many people Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin has seen on average over the last few years. Sometimes it has been upwards of 60,000 separate individuals. So that is a lot of people potentially losing their main source of healthcare.
I'm gonna go back and say it again. Share what you know, everybody. This is like these. So I know that as you said, Michelle, there's so much going on, and the internet's on fire about two guys fighting over social media. And while that's entertaining, that is a squirrel compared to what's happening right now in this conversation. And these are the things we need to be talking. Fine, you want to talk about them fighting? That's great, but also follow up with. Did you know that this bill also is going to take another piece of healthcare away from Medicaid? Because they just can, and we have congressmen who admittedly did not read this. So it is important to get a hold of them. It is important to talk to your friends and family and share this information. Michelle, there will be in our show notes a link to the organization to let people know where they can go to find out more information on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And, this bill right now is with the Senate. So that's why I was talking about calling Tammy Baldwin to thank her. And call Senator Ron Johnson to tell him that you do not want him to vote yes on this bill. The provisions you might want to get taken out, for example, the defunding of Planned Parenthood provision, and pay attention because this bill may end up going back to the House. And if it goes back to the House, then we're talking about your representatives, your congressional House of Representatives. And so, you should be able to see how they voted.
Yep.
It will be no surprise that all of the Republicans from Wisconsin voted yes for this bill. And there's still opportunity to call them and tell them what you think of it, particularly because if there are markups from the Senate, this will go back to the House.
Yeah, I don't know that this is a done deal yet. This could be bouncing back and forth for quite a while, so we'll have to see what happens with that. You also mentioned volunteers. So Planned Parenthood does still use volunteers if you would like to get involved. You can also go to your website.
Absolutely. Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin has phone banking going on. We have tabling at various festivals this month in June for Pride and Juneteenth. And at those events, we will be talking to people in those communities attending about what is going on with this bill. So absolutely. Great way to get engaged.
We will include those all in the show notes, all of those links. Michelle Velasquez, the Chief Strategy Officer for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Wisconsin. Thank you so much for your time, Michelle. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Stay with us. You are listening to Matt Nair on air across the Civic Media Radio Network. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning and welcome to Matt Nair on air. Jane Matt Nair, Greg Bach, Sweet Cal B on the board, coming to you from our studio at Radio Park in Racine. You can always join us, call or text. The number is the same, 855-752 4842. Leave a comment on the live stream on Facebook, YouTube, and what used to be Twitter. The Brewers are home for a long homestand. I think it's 12 games.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to one of them.
You're going to go? They are playing tonight. Our broadcast starts at 6:35 as the Crew hosts the Padres. You can listen to the game on terrestrial radio. It does not stream. So if you want to listen to the game tonight, catch it on WRCE in Richland Center, WISS in Oshkosh, WRJN here in Racine and Kenosha, WCQM in Park Falls near Butternut, and WBZH in Hayward. The Crew hosting the Padres. Our broadcast starts tonight at 6:35.
I need a different name I need a different way of saying Butternut. Because we have your other favorite place.
Amory.
We'll
work on it.
Yeah.
Butternut is my newest place my newest favorite place I've never been. Yet.
All right.
Yet.
Rumors abound.
Rumors abound
There we are.
about a potential road trip. Possibly. Once we get the okay on that, we'll share all the details.
Yeah.
But hopefully soon we'll let you know if we're going to be hitting the road, taking Matt Nair on air on the road.
Matt Nair on the road.
Matt Nair on the road.
That was fun.
I wanted to spend a little time talking about this, and we've talked to Maddock, Milwaukee
Yes.
Area Animal Domestic Control, numerous times over the last year, and now this from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. The Wisconsin Humane Society is at crisis level capacity, so they have dropped their dog adoption fees. Again, Maddock has had this problem in Milwaukee. Now the Wisconsin Humane Society, I know Hawes in Waukesha County has had the same problem. They just have too many dogs.
Yeah.
And it's bad for the animals to be in these really crowded conditions.
Yeah.
Just think of the noise factor. And if you have a pet who gets anxious, think about 100 dogs being in that constant state of hype because they're close. They're too close together, and there's too many of them.
Yeah.
So now is a really good time. It's summertime.
It's summertime.
School's out.
It's for summer.
What a wonderful time to adopt a dog.
I mean, I hope my wife isn't listening right now, but I would love a second dog, but not right now.
Maybell needs a friend.
Everyone get on my side on this one. I'm the okay.
Calvin, you agree that Maybell needs a friend, right? I mean, she's been alone this whole time.
Alone?
2 dogs is a lot of work.
Thank you.
It adds a lot. That being said,
God.
I really think my dogs appreciate each other a lot.
Okay.
They keep each other company.
I know. Okay, I'm going to ask a really quick question. And we'll get back to the topic because I agree, especially right now. Calvin, how far apart were your dogs? What? You had one dog and then you got a second dog. Was it within a year or two, or did you wait 5 years and got another dog?
I will give you that. I think Willie is 8 and Dolly might be getting close to 4, either 3 or 4.
Okay, so we'll give you another year.
Oh, I don't think it's gonna. I think no. The Bach family household will have a second dog within the next year.
Oh,
easily.
Awesome. Well, you can also get another dog. You can get your first dog. Really, this is a great time to adopt a dog. And if you don't want to adopt, you can foster.
And I know I believe with Maddock, and I can't speak to Hawes as well as the Humane Society, but they do programs where you can take them home for a weekend.
Yes.
See if they are a good fit with your home, with your family.
You get to have a little trial run.
Yeah, because it's, people, I don't know. That was one of the weird things when we got a dog, and I knew that we weren't going to give her up, but people do give them up because they can't handle the responsibility.
Sometimes they have to move.
Things change.
Sometimes they have to move, or you lose your apartment, and it's tough if you're a renter, especially being able to keep a pet. And you're right. I'm sure they deal with all kinds of really painful surrenders.
Yeah. So it's something to really think about. But if you've been thinking about getting a dog, I would really.
No better time than now.
Yep. And all of those, Humane Society, Maddock, and Hawes, they'll all be on the show notes, so you can reach out to whomever's closest.
Yep.
And just start with a question about getting one. And I think fostering
is a really great way to go. And that helps the shelter as well.
Yeah.
That takes some of the burden off of them. It's really good for the animal to get out of that kind of hyper situation with all these other animals. And again, with the Wisconsin Humane Society, their adoption fees typically range from $199 to $299. Now it's $75 through June 11th.
And that includes
the
stuff.
That's it. And
Yeah.
they've got their shots, and they've got, I believe they are chipped.
And they're spayed and neutered.
And they're spayed and neutered. So all of that's taken care of. $75 is a deal.
Yeah.
It's a great deal.
Yeah. I think that, the next dog we get is going to definitely be rescued. And this is purely a financial thing. When we got our dog, it was not a rescue.
Right.
And we paid money for it. And we went to, there's a rescue at the farmer's market in Kenosha. And we were like, how much is it? I was expecting to hear this astronomical price, like $450 with everything. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All those organizations, their information will be in the show notes, and you can find out more. But yeah, and I would say, yeah, foster. Start with fostering.
Start with fostering. If you've never had a pet and you're not sure about it, do a foster.
You'll probably keep it, though.
You'll probably keep it. Yes. Humane Society, again, has almost 400 dogs.
That is insane.
So Wisconsin Humane Society is at a crisis level. So is Matic, Milwaukee Area Animal Domestic Control, and Hawes, Humane Animal Welfare of Waukesha County. Like Greg said, we'll have links in there in our show notes.
Yeah.
Get a friend. Have a friend for the summer.
Or as my wife says, get a friend for your friend.
That works too. News is coming up next, and then Dan Schaefer will be here from the Recombobulation Area, Civic Media's political editor. That's all on the way. Fight, fight, fight. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.